Hey everyone, so it's early June and finally the sun is shining. We've had a pretty cold spring. It's been rainy and it's been windy, just been miserable overall. So we haven't really been out fishing that much. And since it's such a nice day, we decided to take the boat out to take advantage of it. As soon as we got out here, the boat launch is right there, and we could see fish rising everywhere because the lake has warmed up. The fish is just becoming rather active, so pretty excited. Decided to anchor not too far from the boat launch, as you can see, and hopefully we'll get some of these rising fish. Most of you have seen us catching trout by spinning with spinners and spoons, and it's a pretty effective way of fishing. But you've also seen us catching trout and flies, which is actually even better compared to spin casting, because you're actually targeting trout with flies that imitate the feed that trout eat in the lake. So, but if you don't want to fly fish and you want to catch more fish, what can you do? Well, today we're going to be float fishing in a different way. We're not going to use bait, but we're going to actually tie a little fly at the end of the line under the float. So it's float fishing with small flies, and hopefully we can catch some of those lots of fish today to show you how this works. So the very first thing we're going to do is show you what we actually use. Well, if you're float fishing for trout, because the fish aren't very big, you want to start with a small skinny float. The fish that we're catching are only about 10, 12, 14 inches long, maybe the odds 16 inches fish. So something small should be used so that the fish can actually pull the float down. So once your float is attached to the main line, you want to adjust that float depth. So the float depth is where the depth where the fish are going to be. So we're fishing around, I'll say 10 foot of water with some weeds from the bottom. So I'm just going to put the float depth up to about 6 or 7 feet and let it dangle just above that weed bed, and I think that's where the fish are. It's a good place to start anyway, and then we can adjust a little bit depending on whether or not the fish are biting. So this is a 9-foot float fishing rod, and this is actually a fly fishing blank. This is a rain shadow full weight fly fishing blank that has been built into the spinning rod. The reason we're using a long rod is so that we can actually adjust this float depth to pretty high up. If you're using the fixed float, if you're using a short spinning rod, you can't actually change your float depth to very deep. Another reason for using a long rod is that your hookup can be a lot better. By having long rod, you can keep that line between the rod and the float away from the water surface, so that it increases your hookup rate. So once you have your float depth adjusted, we're going to tie the fly on. But I prefer not to tie the fly directly onto the main line because the main line is rather thick. I use a pretty thick line, or 6 maximum, to keep that float, avoiding that float from sliding up and down the thin line. So what I'll do, I'll put a swivel on the main line, then I have a leader. This is a 4-pound test leader, and then I have a fly. This is a size 14 fly, little chronometer pattern, silver and red, and that has worked pretty well for me in the past over here. So we're going to try that first. Before we start fishing, there's one last thing we have to do, is to add some weight onto the line so we can balance the float and bring that fly down to the striking zone. So what I'll do is I'll add some little split shots onto it, just 2 or 3, to balance the float. And like bait fishing you tend to add the weights down near the bait. I'm going to add my weight further up the line, away from the fly, so that allows the fly to sink down a little slower, to give it a natural sink, so maybe the fish will like it that way. You can add one more on there, just to keep that float down a little bit. 4 split shots. Is that enough? Perfect. So you just want that orange tip to stand out, you know, sticking out of the water a little bit, and that's good enough. And ready to fish. There's one. Ah, nice fish. Ooh, look at the jump. So after a few attempts, and it finally works. And here's one. We missed a few bites before as well. Nice little fish. Let's take a look. One good thing about fishing with flies, the hook comes out pretty easily. And it basically just popped out once I netted this fish. Splashy little guy. Not very big, but let's see how pretty it is. Look at that, look how sporty it is. Nice little guy, nice little rainbow trout. Okay, we'll let it go. First fish of the day, hopefully many more to come. Well, we missed a couple of bites and hooked one fish here. But it seems like pretty slow. At first we saw lots of fish rising around us and I was quite optimistic, but we spent about, I would say about 45 minutes so far, and the result hasn't been that good. And we're gonna make a move, I think. Maybe move to the other side. There's a couple other spots that I think might be pretty productive just based on what we've experienced in the past. So let's go with it, and hopefully we can show you some more fish. This is a pretty good sized fish actually. I don't think it's a rainbow. I think it's a cutthroat. It keeps diving down. Oh no, it's a rainbow. It's a pretty good sized rainbow. Not too shabby. Still pretty small, but that fish put up a pretty good fight. And he actually took the float down right away once I cast this fly out. Here it is. It's not a nice rainbow. Look at the spots. Look at the big spots on the back. Beautiful fish. Beautiful shiny fish. And let this guy go. Nice. So we switched to a different spot, and that seemed to be making a difference because first cast, as soon as that float landed in the water, had a bite, and that's looking good. We'll see if we can get another one. Oh. That's not a nice fish actually. Oh, little guy. A bit smaller than the other one. Still very beautiful. Little brightly colored fish. I'm using a net not because the fish is really big, but just easier to handle the fish without hurting it. It is. A nice rainbow. So the bites are actually not very consistent. We've been getting maybe one bite every 10 minutes or so. It's losing my patience a little bit. You just have to keep watching the float and pay attention to it because you just never know when it's gonna go down. A little guy. Little. Check that out. Tiny little fish. Well, the wind is just getting stronger and stronger, so we think we're gonna wrap it up now. It's getting rather rough, but hope you enjoyed this video, and hope you try this fun alternative. You don't want to try spoon fishing or fly fishing when trying to catch a trout in the lake. So for more information on different fishing techniques, please check out our website at www.fishingwithrod.com, and make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel, and please leave a comment if you have any ideas or questions regarding this fishery, and good luck fishing next time.